What's going on, Durable Family? Richard coming to you with a important topic today. Today I want to talk about why it always feels like the people around you are trying to pull you backwards and what to do about it. Very important. First, I always want to start off with something pretty interesting. And I found and heard an interesting story years ago, and it applies directly to what we're talking about here today. So, this story is about a traveler, and this traveler finds his way to a little mountain town in the middle of nowhere. Okay. And as he's walking down through the main street of town, he sees over on the right a general store. And the general store has an old man that probably looked something like this guy right here, sitting on a rocking chair and soaking in life. You know what I mean? You've seen that person before. Can tell that there's years of wisdom in these eyes. You can tell it, you can see it. So the traveler walks up to this man and he says, "Hey, look, it looks like you're from this place. Tell me a little bit about this town. Who lives here? What are the people like?" And the old man looks at him and says, "Well, tell me about where you come from. What are the people like in the town where you are originally from?" And the traveler kind of steps back and thinks about it. He says, "Well, most everybody is kind of doing their own thing. They're pretty busy, and I honestly, they kind of talk around behind people's backs a lot, and they seem to only be thinking about themselves all the time, and they're kind of nasty in some ways because of what they focus on, and they always seem to want to tear me down, look down on me. And it's actually really frustrating. That's why I left." And the old man kind of sits back in his chair and he says, "Well, those are the people you're going to find here." And then he kind of lets it go, and the traveler kind of shocked and said, "Huh." And he spins around and walks out. The next day, another traveler comes through the town, and same scenario. It's almost like this guy is the town welcomer. I mean, he's just sitting there drinking his morning coffee at the general store, and this new traveler comes in and he says, "Hey, look, I'm new here, and I'd love to get to know this town. Tell me a little bit about it." And the old man, wise as he is, says the same thing that he said the day before, and he says, "Well, tell me about the place where you come from. What are the people like there?" And the new traveler says, "Well, they're actually amazing humans. Everywhere you go, it feels like you're meeting a new friend, and everybody is so warm and welcoming. People walk around with a smile on their face, and they don't be surprised if somebody stops you, shakes your hand, and asks how you're doing, and waits for a response." And the old man smiled, and he said, "Well, son, those are the exact same people you're going to find here." And that is such a true story. The things you look for are what you find. And the actions and the persona and the ambiance that you give out to others is exactly what comes back to you. And what generally happens when people start a business, they are so enthusiastic about getting started. In fact, it gives them a brand new meaning to their life. And then you go and you tell your closest friends, the people you trust, maybe your family, and it feels like they are kind of not for you. They don't understand. It's almost like they're just pouring salt down on top of a wound into you, and they're just kind of pouring out some negativity regarding your ambition, your ambition. And so I painted a picture here in the contrast of people kind of moving in the same direction versus somebody that is obviously not super happy about their life, that's making somebody else's life really miserable. It's about to get a whole lot worse with this guy right here approaching. And this happens in life so much. Not only can we kind of put out negativity or positivity, but the people around us, once we start down a positive path for our lives, once we start down that positive path, it's almost like people around us want us to fail. They want us to not succeed. And it's an interesting concept because what's really happening is the drive and ambition and motivation that you are putting out is actually intimidating people around you. And it's actually causing them to think through their entire life and realize that they didn't take action on some of the goals and dreams that they had. Or they did and they got smashed. And so there's this dissatisfaction that's living deep inside of them, and a misunderstanding that completely blocks them from being able to truly lift you up. And 9 times out of 10, this is how humans are with the other people. Like, for whatever reason, when somebody else takes an ambitious path, usually what happens is people throw stones at it. And I say this, maybe you already have experienced this. Maybe you're new and you haven't. But just be ready for this. This is something that generally happens. It happened in my life. And it always happens to a point. To a point. It's just humans being humans. Here's what you got to remind yourself, and it's not even worth the time, honestly, to respond, but you've got to take an account of what you're trying to do. And if people that have already done what you're trying to do are speaking into your life and they're giving you caution, or they're telling you watch out, or hey, think more about this, then you should listen to those people because they have already done it. But what you're going to find when you start down this path, instead of hearing those things I just described, the negative things like caution, don't proceed, unless you're like your business savviness is like underwater, then they might be trying to help. But most of the time, people that have already done it are actually going to encourage you. And they're going to say, that is a phenomenal idea. I am so proud of you. You let me know how I can help. That is, so when you hear those words and you just got done saying, I'm thinking about starting a business, and you hear those words, that is the kind of person you need to gravitate towards. Because everybody else in your life, 9 times out of 10, have never built anything. They've never built it. They've never built a dream. They've never set ambitious goals and marched on them every day relentlessly. You understand? And so most people are going to cast shade when they have no idea what you're doing. They're going to cast shade on things that they wish they could do. And that's just human nature. And it's just one of those things as an entrepreneur we accept, we embrace. And you know what? It fuels us. It fuels us. Mark my words. The people that are already ahead of you and where your goals are only going to be a positive influence on you. 9 times out of 10. There's always a grumpy apple in the mix, but it's the opposite. From people that have never built anything, 9 times out of 10, those people are going to be negative. People that have already done what you're trying to do, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be so positive and so encouraging. So encouraging. I want to talk a little bit about the mindset that entrepreneurs need to embrace. And it doesn't mean that this is a natural thing, okay? Sometimes this is a very unnatural thing for an entrepreneur, but it's necessary. It's necessary because we have such a small view of the world. We hold in our hands only the decisions that we have made for however many years we've been on this earth. And the sphere around those decisions is only about that big. Okay? That's like a literal pin drop of ink encompassed by the sun. Okay, that's how much perspective we really have as humans on this earth, as one human. Look, there's 7 billion people on the planet. 7 billion. That is insanity. So there's so many people and there's so many opportunities in this world. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is opportunity is what makes an entrepreneur come to life. So I talked about things you can be doing. So we know that this is going to happen. We know that our family, our friends that haven't built something, we know that they're going to cast shade on that. And that's okay. What we want to do, here's the action you can take. If you're starting to think about this seriously, here's the action you can take. You've got to step back and start with a growth mindset. Now, let me explain what that means. A growth mindset is basically positivity when faced with a challenge. It's being able to step back, make a cup of tea, put a smile on your face, and think about the problem you just ran into. And it's understanding that the world is a rich and wealthy, happy place for the most part. Now, there's a lot of bad. But if we choose, remember the traveler, if we choose to focus our minds on the good, the goals, where we're trying to go, our family, enjoying our family, and understand that the way we think about the world actually shapes the actions that we take. So this growth mindset actually is going to penetrate all aspects of your life as you become an entrepreneur. You have to see things as an opportunity. You have to see challenges as an opportunity. And so when you realize, hey, I am responsible for my outcomes. If I am not growing, then I am failing myself. I know that I have the capacity because I am a human and I have seen other humans do what I am trying to do. And therefore, since I have seen it already done, I know it can be true for me. And so then I'm able to harness people's feedback, harness people's constructive criticism or just criticism. And I'm able to make something positive out of it versus having a fixed or a scarcity mindset. I always believe I'm not good enough to be what I want to be. I always believe that I'm going to be limited by my abilities and my failures. I believe that giving up is easier and makes more sense when I get frustrated and face a challenge. And so shifting your mindset, even if it's, an unnatural thing in the beginning, you have to make that switch so that your being begins to realize that life can be abundant for you. Entrepreneur is something you can achieve. Abundance is within your grasp. If you don't believe any of what I just said, you'll never make it. You have to start and hold the belief, believing in yourself, and then surround yourself with other people that have that mindset. The reason I focus so much on this is because the things that come out of our mouths are a reflection of what is in our heart. Out of the heart speaks the truth. And so the things we say, they impact our world around us so greatly, so greatly. And the beliefs that you hold in your mind can be understood by the way you talk. A lot of times I can sit in a room and have conversations with complete strangers and understand deeply who these people are and what they struggle with by just asking a few questions. And so what you find out is you hear things like, "Oh, I can't afford that." Or, "Wow, that must be nice. I wonder what that would be like. There's no way I would ever be able to do that. That sounds really difficult. How could you ever do such a thing?" Like, these limitations that these people have already put on themselves through the words that they say play out in the life that they live. And so I would challenge you to always remember, be slow to speak, quick to listen. And when you do speak, make sure your words are uplifting for another person and a positive representation of who you're going to become, not who you were. The past is dead, man. The past is dead. You cannot change the past. Your words need to be a reflection of who you're going to become. So I mentioned what to do, like how do you deal with this? And obviously this is a condensed video and I can't go over every scenario, but I do have some basics here that I want to summarize. When you're thinking about starting a business, you're thinking about doing one of the hardest things that's ever been done. You're literally trying to create. And creating is probably the most beautiful, misunderstood, almost out of this world experience. And when you do that, other humans that wanted to create at some point in their lives but didn't, or they got smashed, or they hit a bump and they stopped, those humans latch on and try to pull us down. And so sometimes when you are trying to make this big of a change, and I mean, starting a business is a change. You know the path you want to achieve. I talk to people every day that want to make $20,000 a month. If you don't change your current circumstance and current actions, it's impossible for you to make that big of a change in your life. You'll never go from $3,000 a month to $20,000 a month if you don't make a drastic change. And when you do that, you have to make changes to who you surround yourself with. Who you surround yourself with. So I always encourage people, look, don't ditch your old friends. Don't be a jerk. But find new friends and start spending time with them. Find people that have similar goals as what you are trying to achieve. In fact, it's always better to find somebody that's a few steps ahead of you. Practice the growth mindset, the abundant mindset, the growth mindset of seeing opportunities in challenges. Change the way you talk. Put weight behind the words you say in all things. When you're talking to your spouse, when you're talking to your kids, when you're talking to your family, when you're talking to your neighbor, think about how you are projecting who you're going to become with the words that you say. And finally, get a mentor. A mentor is 20 steps ahead of you, and they can sit back and they can see the big picture and they can show you where you're headed and why the things you're doing right now are small. They're not going to change this big outcome that you're pursuing. So don't focus so much time here. Here's what to focus on. Not doing these things and doing these things gets you faster to your goal. And so look, I hope this video is helpful. If you are ready to start your online journey, you want to start an online business and you're looking for a mentor that's already done it, book a free call with me. I've built several businesses to multi-million dollar figures. We love empowering entrepreneurs, and we teach people every day how to do this stuff. We literally give you the copy and paste blueprint of how to do it. So look below. There will be an option to book a free call with me if you're interested in starting your first online business. All right. Hope you have an awesome day. Cheers.